On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Minister of Labour and Employment. He brings us up to speed on how the Federal Ministry of Labour and the federal government was able to reach a compromise with organized labour. He also reaffirms that the timeline given to organized labour will be respected. Congratulations, sir, on your appointment as the Minister for Labour and Employment.
Thank you.
I know it's not been really easy because there's been a lot of meetings.
Yes.
But can you bring us up to speed on what the negotiation has been like relating with government and also relating government information to workers and Nigerians in general?
Well, first of all, let me say that dealing with labor is not a new thing to me. As a governor in my state, I was the labor were my friends, and just at the tail end of my administration, I was given an award, national award by the NLC for addressing one of the governors that was addressing the welfare needs of the workers in my state. And so with that in mind, I was really focused with attention on always concentrating on the welfare of workers. I don't know if that was what informed Mr. President to send me to the Ministry for Labor and Employment, because he said it. He said, I want you to do something for me, and there I won't tell you. So immediately I came in, and before then, I saw the withdrawal of subsidy. I said, that is what Mr. President wants me to do. That is a very great task ahead of me. So the withdrawal of subsidy is something everybody knew in Nigeria that many presidents had planned to do and were very, very scared of taking that decision. While Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took a decision. Anyway, and so it was for us who are going to work with him to know how to address it. So that was the first baptism, and Labour call it baptism. So that is your first baptism.
Welcome to the fold.
Welcome to that.
The struggle continues.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a permanent decision.
So immediately we now went in. Now before I knew the magnitude of my responsibilities, and so what I did was, first of all, not to allow them to engage me. I started engaging them before even the reaction. When I engaged them, yes, it was not easy in the first, informally. So when we were invited formally, you know, there was resistance, a little bit of resistance, and then later on, one arm of them came, TUC, and then the NLC went on strike. Eventually, all of them went on strike, but then it was 2-day strike. So within that 2-day strike, we were able to do something, walk outside, and we all agreed that, yes, this time around, they were going to come. It was all about trust. First, there was already this issue of trust deficit between the organized labor and the federal government. And I told them, I said, yes, you could say federal government. Federal government is headed by an individual, it's a person. Now, when you trust that person, you must also trust the federal government. I have a trust on the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I want you to also to have this trust, because he's going to give us the backing. So immediately the engagement started. You saw the level of mobilization. Anywhere they were going, were invited, we will go. If I say, okay, let's go to the villa, they will go. If I say, let's go to my office, they were all available. And so in the office, we mobilized all. We brought out all the best, all those that were going to be responsible in the implementation first, for them to know, so that in the course of our engagements, if you have any question to ask, the person will be available. You can see that from the first beginning, almost everybody was there. The industries was there, finance was there, the chief of staff himself was there. I said, chief of staff, you must also be there.
Yeah, I saw the
because
representation.
we don't need to be running to Mr. President. Since you are here, if there's anything, we'll send you to run to Mr. President. That was how he was also running up and down to see Mr. President and back. In implementation, some of them will also have to do with security. The NSA we invited, and the NSA was also available. He was also seated in that place. And then so were the Minister Finance, Humanitarian
Affairs.
I mentioned industries and other ministries that were going to be responsible in the implementation. Communications was also there, information and communication. So that was really a very, very tight engagement, and which took us for almost 3 days.
Still talking about the sudden removal of PMS, what are the things or plans that government has in place in the long term to ensure that Nigerians, workers adjust accordingly?
Well, first of all, you should also know that I was the Director General of the campaigns for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim. Now, these things were all in our documentations, but one thing was that everybody was not sure of when he will remove the subsidy. But for the president, he was ready to remove subsidy. He said, I will remove subsidy. So many of us were shocked when he removed it the very first day of his broadcast. We were not expecting it that early. We were thinking that at the end of the day, we will sit down after forming the cabinet. You will now strategize on what to do to remove. When you remove, then you will see how to address it. But like all Nigerians will see, or the world will see, the very first day, I think it was also his anxiety. And so many of us were wondering, if you remove the subsidy, when and how are we now going to address the issue of subsidy? Now complaints were coming from every angle. Hardship, of course, yes, we knew that was going to be hardship. We also knew that from his broadcast, he said there will be pains. I'm also going to be in pains, but let us bear the pains. And after the labor, now he likened it to a woman in labor, that yes, the pains will be there, but the day the labor, she gives birth to the child, and the child is crying, she will be smiling, even smiling that the labor is over. That is what we're doing now. Yes, he has taken it, he can't go back again. Now our responsibility is to address the pains. And Nigerians, we are very aware, and at that stage, we see that trust in a leader. Because from the very moment that we are going to do engagement, the first word he said is that do everything you can to avert this strike. Let us continue and let us make the labor happy.
Is that why you moved from 20 to 25 to
exactly.
35?
So he said,
and how practicable? Do we have the money to pay?
No. You see, so there's something in ability. In ability, when you already have the ability, you definitely, if you have the ability, you will also have the will to do it. I can tell you that there was something I did in my state, which I always tell people when I came in, with a lot of arrears of salaries, a lot of arrears of this and that, no work, no pay. I've not been a civil servant. But immediately I went there, I saw their plight, and what I said is that if I get into that office, I will address these issues. All of them I will pay. And a civil servant walked up to me and said, they don't do that. He said, you are promising what you have not seen. If you get in and you see you cannot do, what will you tell them? I said, something is telling me that God will provide. The will is there. I will work towards realizing it. That's what I saw in Mr. President. He said, I have withdrawn. Now let me face the pace of addressing the issue. So all of us keyed into it. All the cabinet now keyed into it. Everybody was running up and down to be able to follow Mr. President and also get what he wants done. The issues about subsidy, how to address the hardship that is going to accompany the withdrawal of the subsidy. First, it was the palliatives. Now the palliatives, how do we address the salaries? Of course, yes, you cannot talk about adequate salary. This was not adequate salary or adequate palliatives that will suit the purpose. But then something reasonable that the worker will understand that you are also sympathizing with his plight. First, we proposed to 25,000. When we got 25,000 and placed it on the table, we saw that the argument, even the discussion was not going to start.
Wasn't moving.
Was not going to move. So all of us were worried. We thought it was something that was going to start, and the way and manner it started was really of serious worry to us. And immediately we got on to Mr. President. We said, this 25 will not work. Although you made a broadcast, because on our advice that we gave him to make the broadcast, he said, whatever it is, please, please, please increase it. Let what they want. So we started the bargain at that level. That was number one. And then we got it to 35. Now, when we got it to 35, there were 4 or 3 items that they said were the reasons for the strike. But you know, as usual, labor. What was given to the Ministry for Labor were about 4 items. But when we got in and they realized in the serious negotiation, more than 12 or 15 items were now brought up, ranging from the past government up to this time. So all other agreements that were there were brought down. And that is how I know they do negotiation. But
Government
first,
is continuous.
yes. So, of course, we were also ready. We were also expecting those kind of things. And then we started from 4 items to about 15 items. Then we started drawing from those 15 items down to even the level where we got ourselves, to. Because we were all planning towards arriving at a decision that will avert the strike. And not only averting the strike, implementable items. We didn't want to say we deceived them, we say things that we cannot do. But one good thing that we got was that for every item that we are discussing, we'll always get to Mr. President. Mr. President will say, this item, we must implement it. And so when you get that kind of trust and assurance from a leader, then you have a backing to sit down and negotiate.
So you are trying to assure us now that the 30 days timeline by the Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC is workable for government to meet up with their own bargain of the agreement? Well,
by the grace of God, because what we tried to do too was to get what we have from the Ministry of Finance. That's why the Minister of Finance was always available to tell us. We spoke about the issue of the buses, the CNG buses, and the conversion, and then all the items that were the tools. We asked him, I asked him, first, let me be sure that that the money is there. He said the money is available. I said, the money is available. I said, yes, then we make the commitment. If the money is available, he told them the money is available. They said, no, that's what they do. By the time you make agreement, they come and say the money is not there. He said the money is there. Who are thinking of about 500? Yes. But what is raised right now, 100 billion is available. And so, you see, we are also negotiating on the basis of trust. There was this trust. The money is there. So if you put out 100 billion, how many of those buses? All of them were calculated. And they said, take that one off. The 35,000, the 25,000 was rejected. They wanted 40 or 50. We negotiated and we got to 35. We accepted.
For 6 months?
No, I'm talking about
the 35,000.
Well, it's not really about the duration this time, because the issue of duration was argued. But what we're saying is that this will now be the temporary measure before the implementation of the salary, the new salary increase. That is the wage.
The new national minimum wage.
So within the time of the setting of the committee, which is one of the part of the agreement, is to set up the committee on the new salary increase. So which will now start immediately. I'm sure right now we're working on it to give Mr. President to make the announcement, so that Mr. President will announce the committee to start sitting. So it is already a legislation. It's already law that from now to April, there will be new salary. So if you calculate the period from now to April, it means that anything you are doing are temporary measures. By the time you get there is implementation. So we don't want the implementation to again to be prolonged. That's why we're saying we're working with the 6 months. So that as we start the committee will start sitting. We're expecting that before the expiration of that period, they would have reached an agreement. And then implementation will start exactly within that period. So if we calculate, That's why we're always saying 6 months, 6 months. For them, they rejected. Yes, they said, yes, it cannot be 6 months. Let it be that whatever temporary measures we are doing here will continue when we prolong, when the salary increase is not being done within time. That 35,000 will continue. That 35,000 will continue. But for us, we are thinking that, yes, let us work quickly. We are going to work quickly so that when we get it done, there will be no need for 35. All we will be talking about is the salary increment, and which will involve that 35 plus other things that are going to be negotiated. So we give and take so many of them, and you know, my role was double. First, I was leading the government side, but I was also sitting as a conciliator. That is what the role that is given to Minister of Labour. You sit as a conciliator. As a conciliator, at a point you must shift from federal government to Labour. Where you see they are making a justifiable agreement, you move to them. So I was moving from them. Sometimes I move to Labour, and I come back. Labour will harass me, will come back to me again and said, you are abandoning us. You are the one that is the problem. You will be the problem. And then I'll shift back to, sometimes I also move from federal government side to Labour to support them. And my colleagues will look at it and say, look at you, you are supposed to lead us, but you are already giving out to Labour.